Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we are talking about the Stanley Cup Playoffs and my predictions about them. Now, the playoffs are almost set in stone. There's still one matchup that can change over there on the west side where Colorado could move up, but we have a rough understanding of where everyone's going to end up, and I want Seattle versus Dallas to be the series because their games this season were fantastic to watch, and I hope that's the series that going forward, so I'm going to just stick with that for right now. But what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to do a quick, just straight off the bat, no thought going into it, predictions video for the playoffs here. But then I'm going to go through every one of the series and do a video on each one, do a deep dive into each team, what their flaws, what their strengths are, how the team that they're actually playing against, and what they just basically just break down the series, right? And then the day of the playoffs, on next Wednesday, I will do a one last, after doing thorough research on all the teams going forward, a true predictions video. But that will be on Wednesday. But here we are on Friday, last day of the season. We've got most of the series ready to go. So let's do a just straight off the bat, unfiltered thoughts of the playoffs. So let's jump into it with the East here. So here we are in the East, starting off with the Bruins, the best team that has ever been organized in NHL history at this point, against the Florida Panthers. Now, the series is actually split 2-2 over the season, which is it's crazy to think of, but is not surprising to me. I think a team that is going to beat the Boston Bruins, if there is going to be a team, is a team that has explosive offense. I was thinking about the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres as potential teams that could overcome that obstacle. Because Florida, we know, they are an offensive team, but they also have some solid guys in the back end to play defense, but they now have a key factor. Alex the Lion. He is absolutely fantastic to watch in net. He is a joy on the ice to watch his play. And with his help and the Florida Panthers offense, I think that they have a chance to actually upset them. Not in the same style of Columbus taking down the Tampa Bay Lightning in that infamous series, but I think the Panthers truly have an opportunity here to take them down, and I really want to put them ahead, and I want to say the Panthers move on, because I like the Panthers more than I like the Bruins, but there's just no chance in my mind that this happens. I'm going to move the Boston Bruins on to the next round. I think it could go the distance to 7 games, but I think it'll be one of the most fun series to watch. It's just knowing this Florida team and what they keep losing in the playoffs that I can't see the Bruins pulling a Lightning and losing to the wild card team in the first round. The Toronto Maple Leafs and the spoken of Tampa Bay Lightning, the rematch from last season. Now, last season, Tampa Bay beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs. Of course, we all know in 7 games. Toronto just can't get past the first round. But this year, Tampa Bay has been looking so sketchy as of late. It doesn't make any sense to me. One week they will lose 3 games. The next week they will win every game with a shutout. And they are just so sketchy as of late. Toronto is not super on fire, but they're playing good. I've never bet against the Tampa Bay Lightning. But in this series, just how shaky Tampa Bay has been, which could be to their benefit. It could help them out that they've been all over the place as of late, because it could mean that they recover in the playoffs. Like, get it out of their system and then get serious. Take this week or so to rest and go in serious for the playoffs. In Toronto, you know what? I can't see it happening. Tampa been too sketchy. Toronto moves on, and I know, crazy. Moving on to the Metropolitan Division, Carolina versus the Islanders. Now, the Islanders, I think, is a good balance to this series. The Islanders, really solid defense and goaltending versus Carolina's just all-around great play. But I really think that overall, that I like the Islanders as a playoff team. I know they're not, I always say it, they're built for the playoffs, not the regular season. But the Carolina Hurricanes have such a fire beneath them, and they are better than they were last season going into the playoffs, that I just don't see any way that Carolina doesn't take over. I think the series even shows in the season 3-1 for the Carolina Hurricanes. So the Hurricanes, in my eyes, I just don't see the Islanders having the offense to pull it off. Carolina's is just so well built overall, and they've got so much offense and defense, and they got good goaltending. I just don't see a way Carolina doesn't get past the Islanders. The Devils versus the Rangers, a series that I cannot wait to see. This is going to be a fantastic one. Now, in the season, Devils win 3-1 over the season. But going into the playoffs, the Rangers are on fire right now, and they have that experience. They have that playoff experience, and they've got that fire from last season, making it to the conference finals and losing to Tampa Bay. They were this close to getting to the finals for the first time. All those guys on the team, the moves that they've made with Kane and Tarasenko, I just don't see a way that they don't make it. So in my eyes, I'm going to put the Rangers ahead of the Devils. I know they won 3-1 in the season, but their guys, I just feel like they're a little too young, and they're not. Their moves from Timo Meier hasn't really been that exciting or really anything overall, that I think the Rangers move on. So we've got Carolina versus the Rangers, New York, and Toronto and Bruins. Moving on to the West. To the West, we've got, well, for right now, it's Dallas versus Seattle. Season's 2-1. I don't care about who wins this one, but it's been a fantastic series. Kind of tales of the two sides. Two teams with solid depth, defense, and goaltending. If you think about Martin Jones, how he's played, this is going to be a fantastic series to watch, and I hope Colorado loses today, because I really want to see this matchup happen. But overall, I think the Dallas Stars are going to be the team that pulls it off. I think they just got a little more star power in their lineup to push them over the edge. And Ottinger in net is just a whole other factor that is just entirely changes everything. Next, we've got the Colorado Avalanche versus the Minnesota Wild. Now, the series in the season is 2-1 Colorado, and I know this could change. It could be Dallas versus Minnesota, whatever. But right now, as it stands, Colorado versus Minnesota, I think this will be an interesting series, and I think it'll actually be a lot closer than people are going to think it is. But I still think there's no way that the Cup champs, the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche, do not win this one. There's just no way. Minnesota, it's unfair that they have such a good team this year that they're going to be matched up with Colorado or Dallas. It's disappointing. Moving on to the Pacific Division, the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Winnipeg Jets. Now, this is the only one on the board where one team has a sweep. 3-0 is the Vegas Golden Knights over Winnipeg. And this is a rematch from the first year that Vegas made in the playoffs. This was the conference finals matchup. And in that one, Vegas won that one. They sweep them this time. I don't see any way Vegas does not sweep Winnipeg. I would like it to be closer, but I just can't see any other way Vegas sweeps Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg may get a couple wins maybe in, but I just don't, there's no way Vegas is going to stomp the Winnipeg Jets. Moving on to the Oilers and the Kings. With this matchup, I think this is going to be an explosive matchup between these two teams. But overall, this is the toughest one for me to decide, because each team has like a real pull for me. Like, I don't see like a reason why the other one shouldn't beat them. But because of what happened last year and how things have just been, the Edmonton Oilers are just so much better this year than they were even last year that I just can't convince myself not to say Edmonton moves on. So we've got our second round set up. So let's stay in the West. So we've got Dallas versus the Avalanche. Now, this is a series, the second round, the dreaded second round for the Avalanche. And I don't know why. I'm not doing this because I hate a team or anything, or because someone might be watching out there. But I just have a feeling with the missing of Landeskog and just something about the Colorado Avalanche not being, I mean, I don't know. Something about this matchup just feels like Dallas's time to shine. Didn't Dallas beat them in the bubble hockey in the 21 season or whatever? I think they did, and I think Dallas is going to do it again. I think Dallas moves on to the conference finals. Vegas versus Edmonton. Now, this is a good series. We've got kind of the all-out offense of the Edmonton Oilers versus the pretty solid defense of the Vegas Golden Knights. And usually I pick offense over defense, but in this case, I think Vegas has the guys like Jack Eichel to bring the offense, and I think Vegas is the real deal, and they move on to the conference finals. Back to the East, we've got Boston versus Toronto, and yes, Toronto, they finally get past the first round, but their offense and lack of defense is just, there's no way. It's matched at every turn by the Boston Bruins. Bruins move on to the conference finals. The Rangers versus the Hurricanes. This is an interesting one. You've kind of got the superstars of the Rangers versus the depth of the Hurricanes. And last year the Rangers won. I think both teams are better this year. And for that reason, I think the Rangers are still going to pull it off. I don't think the Jerks, the Hurricanes, have any odds, any chance against the New York Rangers. And the Rangers move on to the conference finals again. So let's stay in the East here. So, conference final, Bruins versus Rangers. I mean, this will be a fun matchup. I mean, kind of superstars versus superstars, top end versus top end. This is the series that I think could be the best one in the entire playoffs. And, I mean, they have goaltending meets goaltending, defense versus defense. I just don't see, the Rangers are met at every turn by the Bruins everything, except maybe goaltending. But Ullmark and Swayman are both good. One of them will be on fire at the time. I think the Bruins move on to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Dallas versus the Vegas Golden Knights. Man, I don't know. I think at this point it'll be like who's playing better. It's kind of hard to tell at this point, but I think maybe the tough series against the Avalanche might weaken the Dallas Stars, and maybe with Vegas versus Dallas. I don't know. I mean, Ottinger's going to probably play lights out. You know what? I'm going to do it. Dallas moves on, and we've got Dallas versus the Boston Bruins. Look at that. Dallas versus the Boston Bruins. Two teams that are just so well built overall. Green versus yellow. Wow, I don't know. I don't know who would win this one. Dallas versus the Bruins. I mean, overall, the Bruins are the better team, but does the better team finally win? What does that even mean? I have no clue who I should pick here. The Bruins or the Dallas Stars? Hang on. Okay, so the season series between the two of them, Boston won both times with 3-1 and then 2 in an overtime win. I think this is going to be the type of series where it's close every game, but it's going to end up being a sweep. And I think the Boston Bruins is going to be your Stanley Cup champions. There it is. The best team ever created wins the playoffs and the President's Trophy. And that is that. So that is all I got to say. So if you've made it this far, I'm begging you, please pick up your free subscription down below. Until next time, I've declared it. The Bruins will win without doing any research. Will win the Stanley Cup. And that is all I've got to say. So thank you for watching this. And until next time, too sweet. Have an amazing day. And ta-ta for now.